All right, guys, with spring ball starting on Monday, this is our pre-spring press conference. We'll start with Coach, and then we've got Mike Holders when he opens it up for questions. So,
all right, stepping up. All right, first thing, big game Saturday night versus Fresno. All right, sound familiar? Okay, so hopefully we can pack Taco Bell Arena. Myself and many of our staff members will be there, and exciting time for Coach Rice and his team. It's been fun to watch this year, and hoping for those guys to go out there and play their very best Saturday night and have a conference championship. That'd be great. March 9th, we start back up, and we are excited to get going. Our players have worked extremely hard. Right now they're testing. They've been working out, running, and doing that this week. They've been testing. They've been testing on bench, squat, hang clean, power clean, vertical, and you're starting to see these numbers from last spring go up. You know, where guys are getting stronger, getting better, which is what you would expect. And so we used to have a gong in the weight room. It got broken a few years back, which is a good thing. But they got a cymbal in there hanging up, so anytime a guy breaks a record, he gets to hit that cymbal, and it's pretty loud. So it's been loud throughout the building this whole week, which is a good thing. And our guys are excited, and they're ready to put this on the field here on March 9th and start working towards, you know, this next season. We'll have 6 practices before spring break. One will be a closed scrimmage on Thursday, leading into spring break. April 4th is our high school coaches clinic. During that week, we will also have another closed scrimmage that Saturday. April 10th is our alumni practice, which will be open to the media, and we'll have alumni there. Last year, I think we had about 350, 400 alumni come back. We hope that we have more this year. That's a fun time for our players. It's also fun to have those guys that played for us to come back here and be a part of this family. The 11th will be the spring game. We'll talk more about that later. You know, we had some staff changes. You know, we had talked about with Coach Drinkwitz, Coach Marks coming in, and everything has gone great. They're up and running, you know, really happy with where we are offensively, with what we're going to look like going into spring with the install and a couple new wrinkles. Has been very encouraging. We hope that spring is very competitive. We know that we have quite a few guys coming back, but our mentality in spring always is, you know, we start back over. All right, there are going to be guys that have played that are going to go out there and we'll start in certain spots, and then we're going to have areas where it's a pecking order. There is no starting position where guys will go out there, yes, with the first group, but eventually everybody will have a chance to be with that group. With that, the quarterbacks. You know, Ryan Finley will start it out. He's not the starter, but he will start. All right, when we begin, Tommy Stewart will be in the mix with the Blues, the first group. Alex Ogle, Brett Rippon, Upshaw, those guys will all get their opportunities to work with those groups as well. And that's going to play itself out throughout spring. First scrimmage, you know, when you get done with that, you're going to start to kind of regroup, and maybe some guys get more opportunities with the starting group from that point on. You know, the things we've talked about offensively, we want to improve our tempo, really our communication. You know, we'd like to be faster at executing our offense. So we'll emphasize that this spring. On the defensive side, turnovers is going to be a big part, you know, how much we can create in practice. And then our red zone defense. You know, we know we're going to be in that position, but we want to emphasize that and work that even more this spring. Special teams is going to be a lot of individual work. We feel like schematically, other than kickoff return, which is an area we really want to improve in, that most of the other areas were pretty good throughout the year. We need to get better individually at what we're doing and our techniques. So we're going to spend more time in special teams doing the individual work than probably we've done in the past. And so another big day I don't want to forget is Pro Day, which is March 18th. And we will have all those guys that are working right now all back, and seeing quite a few of them here ready for that date and ready to put on a great show, hopefully. And we'll have a lot of scouts and coaches rolling through here, which will be a great day for them. But overall, we're just looking forward to getting started. You know, you come off the season that we had, you try to obviously look at that, learn from it, but move on. And that's really what the 9th represents for us, is we're moving on. We're a different group. We're going to have to figure out, you know, who we are going to be throughout spring, develop that into the summer, and then perfect it in fall camp. And so that's our plan, and I know our guys are excited, the coaches are excited, and we're looking forward to it. So with that, open up for questions.
You mentioned moving on. I mean, last year there was an obvious kind of chip on the shoulder after the previous season, new staff, that kind of thing. How do you kind of motivate these guys? What's kind of the chip to get them to have this year?
Well, I think you go back, and the one humbling thing that we can always show is the film. You know, we won games, but we didn't win them as well as we would like. You know, if you go back and look at that, and they've all studied the tape, there's plenty to get better at. There's plenty to work on. We've obviously lost some key players that we have to replace. We have new coaches in place. You know, there's a lot to prove in those areas. And I also think you can just look at football in general. Every year, you know, just because a team had success the previous year does not guarantee them any success the next year. And there's a lot of examples of that. So, you know, our mentality is just get back to work. You know, we've always been a blue-collar operation. We've always known that, hey, if we do things the right way long enough, which we call the process, that eventually, you know what, it should go in our favor. Or at least if we face somebody and it doesn't, they're pretty good. And so we just got to get back to work. And I think our guys have really taken to that. There's not a whole lot of guys that have had, you know, an attitude of, well, we just won the Fiesta Bowl. No, we did. And now we have quite a few guys coming back. What can we do now? You know, that's exciting as a player. You know, you want to say, well, I want to be a better player. I want this team to be a better team. You know, and that's what you hope you get from these guys. So I haven't seen that yet. Now, when we get on the field, we'll know a whole lot more. You know, if we have issues with guys being coachable, then we have a problem. Up to this point, that has not been an issue, and I don't anticipate that going into spring practice.
With Eli not having a ton of experience coaching quarterbacks, does that affect your role? Are you going to be more hands-on in that area? And obviously that's the most important position out there. What are you expecting out of that group this spring? Well,
hopefully to produce somebody that's going to be, you know, a very good player for us, you know, when the season starts. I will be as involved as I've always been with the quarterbacks. I mean, that's a position I gravitate towards. I'm in the meetings. I run meetings. That will be no different with Eli than it was with Mike. That's a position that, you know, I enjoy being a part of, and I like to coach, and I'll continue that. At the same time, Coach Drinkwitz is our quarterback coach, and he's done a great job with those guys, meeting with them, you know, getting his standards that he wants from that position. But, you know, we talk to these guys. I mean, I'd love to have an Ohio State type room where you have 3 players that could take you to the biggest games. You know, that's great competition. If you think about that and you think about that team, who's going to take a team to the national championship and win it with the 3rd-string quarterback? That's pretty impressive. You know, and I think our guys understand that, and they've seen it, and now we'd like to have that type of competition. Don't know if that'll happen yet, but I do believe that we've got a group of quarterbacks that are pretty good. We have to develop them. They're going to have some confidence in what they're doing and develop that. But I feel like when it's all said and done, you know, we have enough talent in that room to be successful on offense through that position.
Ryan played a little bit there at the end of September, and then we never really saw him again. I think maybe a kneel down or something. But what did you guys see from him during those 3 months?
Yeah.
How did that experience help him the rest of the season?
Well, just to see him play against Air Force, I mean, he's a competitive kid now. That's the one thing. I didn't quite know that until you're actually talking to him after a drive on the sideline, and he's into it. He's smart. He's bright, and he's very competitive. You know, when we went back to Grant, and Grant started playing well, Finn was fantastic. He did what any great backup would do. He kept preparing, knowing that, you know, if Grant had another game like that, he's going to go in, and that might be his real opportunity to take over at that point. So he prepared every week with that mentality. And so to really kind of watch him handle playing, to watch him handle maybe a controversy, you know, through the media and what everybody said, and we said that's not going to happen, to handling that situation, to being prepared every week, you know, it was very good. And I think it was a great experience for him too. So he's the most experienced guy we have from that standpoint. But I know Tommy, you know, has been preparing, has been a different guy this spring, which is exciting after his season last year. Ogle, who we've had a chance to see in some of our live reps when we scrimmaged our young guys. And then, you know, Brett, we'll see. You know, we know what he is in high school. How is that going to translate into college? And that remains to be seen until we get out there and work with him.
I was going to ask about Brett. I mean, he's obviously got a lot of hype and, I guess, expectations maybe from the outside coming in.
Right.
People expecting him to, you know, be a 4-year starter or whatever. I mean, how do you, I guess, manage that? And what do you said, I know you haven't seen him on the field, but what are just your, I guess, where his stance is coming into this and what you want to see from him?
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, he does have a lot of hype from the outside, which he earned, you know, through his stats and the way he played. Now, here's a guy that's in the building at 7:30 in the morning preparing. You know, I don't think any of that type of stuff affects him. He just wants to be the very best quarterback he can be. And that's what I appreciate about him. Now, is he physically ready? I don't know. Is he mentally ready? I don't know. And I wouldn't expect him to come out there and just operate our system like he's known it for years when we start practice on the 9th. I hope by the end he's got a great feel, he's got a better understanding of the expectations, and then through summer he gets stronger, he improves his techniques that we work with him on, he improves his knowledge, and then come fall camp he's even more ready to compete at that position. And then we'll see what happens. You have to keep in mind that he is a senior in high school right now. And that's the one thing, you know, and he's coming into a group of guys that have played together, have played well, have had success, and he's at one of the most high-profile positions there is. And so for us and him, keep it all in perspective. You know, hey, you're like the other 5 out there. You have to compete, you have to earn it, and you have to take advantage of your reps. And I think all those guys understand that, and he does as well.
Changing gears to the other position that is a big hole. Jay's leaving at running back. What are you looking for out of your running backs that are coming back, and maybe what's the biggest jump they have to make from getting some carries, being a feature back?
Yeah, well, you know, I think with that group in particular, you know, we've got to find somebody back there that one understands, you know, what to do, you know, because we don't have a whole lot of experience necessarily. So knowledge, you know, and then obviously, you know, carrying the football is a different deal. There's not a lot of coaching that goes on for a running back when he's actually carrying the ball. That's his responsibility. That's his talent. But we have to find a guy that understands protection, a guy that will do the little things when he doesn't have the ball. And then you probably won't find this out necessarily in spring or fall camp, but durability. And probably not from taking shots, but I think durability, just, you know, can this guy, you know, be the same guy, you know, every single day? Because that's what you're looking for, and that was one of the best things that Jay was for us, is every week he was consistent. You saw the same guy every week, just powerful runner, knowledge of the system, and little details showed up every single game. So I don't know, you know, Corey Young getting in the mix, we're going to find out, you know, what he's all about. And then go from there. One guy that will be limited, you know, going into spring will be Jeremy McNichols, and we hope that we'll get him back a little bit in the second half of spring, but he will be limited going in. Other than that, you know, the competition is on, and you know, we'll let those guys go out there and do their deal. But that running back position, and Coach Marks being in that room, you know, those guys, he's going to lean on some of those guys that have played. Bertoli, you know, had quite a few reps. Jack Fields, they had a few reps, you know, this last year, and we're going to have to build that group back up. I don't know coming out of spring if we're going to have this great answer, because summer, what we ask him to do from that point on through the summer and into fall camp will probably be the most important time that we have with him.
real quick before my question, what happened with Jeremy?
Hernia surgery. Mhm.
Shane kind of disappeared at the end of last season. It wasn't as involved. Was there something going on physically with him, or did he fall out of what you guys wanted to do offensively? What happened?
I don't think it was anything physical. You know, he did have a couple little dings throughout the season. I think with Thomas stepping up, with Chaz stepping up, they may have shown up, you know, maybe in some of the bigger plays a little bit more. But really, if you go back and look, I mean, he had some big-time plays for us, you know, in the BYU game, with San Diego State, I believe, at home. It was a touchdown on that one. So he's made his plays. Now, it's also our job to find ways to get the ball in his hands as well. And I think with Jay, I think with Grant's running ability, I think with the down-the-field threat with Chaz, you know, those are just some of the things that might have taken away a few touches that he could have had. But he's done everything we've asked him to do. And, you know, right now, you know, he's one of our strongest players. You know, his numbers this week were out of the roof. So we're excited about him going in the spring.
Switching to the defensive line, you look very deep there. What do you expect to see out of that group with Tamatuia and Montaele and Warren back in the mix now?
Yeah, well, I hope to see great competition, you know, with those guys back. And, you know, the one thing, you're going to have 4 guys that are going to be your guys. And with as many guys as we have coming back, the depth has to be solid. You know, it can't just be a depth where you throw a guy in and he plays his part. We hope we're 8 deep, you know, with so many players coming back. And then when I talk 8 deep, that we can throw out, you know, 2 different groups and they're equally as effective. And so that's really what we need. We need some guys to step up. You know, last year on the D-line, we lost some key players, and we had guys step up. Sam McGaskill really stepped up and played inside. We'll probably bounce him out a little bit. He'll still play some inside, but we can put him out there more as an end or a 5 technique. Because Deuce is back, because JT is back, Antoine Turner has come on. You have Armand Nance in there, Robert Ash. So you have some interior D-line guys that, you know, and some depth at that position that not many people have. Now, it needs to be competitive, and we need to be a group that we can rotate guys in there and be equally as good. So that's the something that I know Coach Caldwell's talked about, and that's something that we're going to have to continue to keep working on, you know, throughout the spring, is create that. But, you know, I want to see Deuce out there. You know, I want to see JT get back out there. I want to see Tyler Horn, you know, watch him compete. You know, those guys have all, you know, been injured or on the scout team, and we've got to be able to get them out there and get them in the mix.
Do you expect Tyler to be inside or outside?
I expect him to be inside. Now, in certain packages, he could be an outside guy. Not really a defensive end, but a 5 technique. But the way he looks right now, I mean, you got to think he's been lifting an entire season. I mean, he looks good. He's big. He's strong. He's excited to get back out there and play. He's obviously experienced, so he's not going to freak out about anybody he plays against because he's played, you know, the highest competition. So he's just ready. But he'll play inside, and then you know, we'll bounce some guys around with some 3-down packages.
Back to offense for a second. Eli taking over, you mentioned some new wrinkles to the offense, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're always evolving and changing things, but what maybe with him now running the show, I guess, as OC, that might how the offense be a little different? Well,
I don't know if it's just him. It's just things that we had talked about throughout the year. You know, we're always going to keep working on our vertical run game, you know, with those type of schemes. Now, one thing that is different is, you know, Grant was a pretty good runner. You know, we'll find out how these quarterbacks run with some of the stuff that we were doing. So that might change a little bit. I think the one thing, you know, Eli really understands from coaching running backs, coaching tight ends, to now coaching quarterbacks in the system, how everybody operates. And to me, I think he really brings this sense of urgency, you know, to every position, because he's really been associated with all of them. I know at Arkansas State it was running backs, but, you know, he's really got a great feel for how they can operate. So I think our urgency, I think our tempo, I think the way that we communicate will all improve, you know, and we'll be a faster team ultimately because of that. And that's what we're trying to emphasize. Now, if that happens, it remains to be seen, but that is the emphasis we're trying to bring. And then he's obviously got a few wrinkles and ideas. He sees some things differently than maybe Mike did. And, we may change how we read it, how we operate it, or take it out completely and add a few new wrinkles. And I know we'll have that. We'll have some new plays in there that we haven't done, from studying other teams that you think fit into your concepts. And, I'm excited to see them.
Typical spring question, any roster changes, any injury, guys that aren't going to go to spring, and then also any update on Rick Smith's status with the team?
Yeah, as far as the injuries go, I'll have more, as we get into spring, because there's still a few guys in the bubble. We do have a few guys that are out, and I'll get that information to you this next week once I have all the information of exactly where they are and their return date. And then Rick Smith, I've made comments on that, and that's, all I'm going to say. Like I said before, we've dealt with it internally, and we're moving on.
Another position you guys are really deep at is tight end. You're bringing back a couple of really good guys and bringing in Chase Blakely, who redshirted last year.
Mm-hmm.
What do you expect from that group and bringing him into the mix?
Yeah, well, David Lucero and Chase Blakely both. If you look at them now, they're bigger, stronger, faster. They're both 6'4", 6'5" type guys. I mean, you're going to see a little bit different, player because of their size out there. Now, what both guys are going to have to really become better at is the run game and putting their hand in the ground and all that. They're both receivers. They both have proven that in high school. They're guys that can run. So, and I think the understanding of our offense, our tight ends don't just have to know their position. They need to know the receiver position, the running back position. They need to know what the O-line's doing because we ask them to do so many things. So this will be a little bit of probably mental overload for them, as you get into spring, because you do have a Jake Rowe, you do have a Hardy, you have those guys out there that understand what we're doing, and those guys are going to have to catch up. But I'm really excited about the talent we have at that position, excited about, the depth that we have now as well.
What, Tanner kind of started last year at one place, ended the year at another place. You went back and forth a little bit. What do you guys envision for him this year?
Well, hopefully he's playing inside. Hopefully he's back to that Mike position, which is really where, now he was the MVP of the Fiesta Bowl at the nickel position, so he can really play everywhere. But we'd like to get him back in that Mike position. We'd like to utilize, a couple of our safety type guys at nickel and truly have that 4-2-5 defense. But, if that's not the case, and I know this, when we play certain teams, Tanner will play nickel again because we want to have more linebackers on the field. So hopefully we can just focus on him at linebacker at that Mike position this spring and let him work more of his natural spot that we feel like he's best at.
The schedule came out recently from the Mountain West. I guess if you have any thoughts on just the way that looks, and I guess the fact that you opened against Washington, how much is that maybe motivating guys as well this offseason?
Well, it's been 6 years, hasn't it, since we've been at home? That's motivation itself right there. I mean, 6 years since we've been on the blue, opening at home, and I believe that was against Oregon, if I remember right. That's obviously motivating, just that factor. We get to play at home for the very first game. As far as the schedule goes, we have 9 straight before we have a break. Now, we have that break, and then we go into, 2 of the option teams that we played last year that we struggled with. I don't know if that's going to help us or not. All I know is we have 9 straight games, and if you look at the non-conference schedule early on, that's difficult. We're playing some very good teams. Washington's a very good football team. BYU is another big physical team. Idaho State has really come on and played extremely well. Virginia is going to be another impressive-looking team like UConn was. And then you're into league schedule from there. We play 3 new teams in league that have new defensive coordinators. And so, we got to be prepared for that going into the season. So if you look at it, like any year, 9 straight games in the first 4 are extremely physical. Then you're into your conference. We got to be prepared for that. That's going to be a toughness test for all of us, mentally and physically, to be able to get to that bye week. And hopefully when we do, we've got enough guys that have played and have played throughout the year, and hopefully we can kind of regroup and then come back and play two teams in particular that are going to be difficult to defend. Good. Okay, thank you. You guys